I've said it on the channel before, and I'm gonna say it again. I don't think you can have too many books on Hannibal. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and in this video I just want to go over my 3 or 4 favorite classical history books that I happen to read in 2023. I got one kind of honorable mention, and then 3, I guess I got 2 and 3 could probably be interchanged, and then I got like a number 1 favorite from that time period. And the way I do things with my history reads, I count classical as pretty much anything going on in the Greco-Roman age, because I usually do my ancient history, which is, you know, the Near East and pretty much anything Persia and before, and then classical will just be pretty much anything in between ancient and like medieval periods and stuff. But yeah, no, predominantly Greco-Roman kind of things. But you know, anytime we're dealing with the Celts or the Germanic tribes or any other kind of cultures going on during that time period, I include those as well. But like I said, let's just get on with the video. And from my little quip at the beginning there, here's my honorable mention. I have Hannibal, Rome's Greatest Enemy by Philip Freeman. When this came out, I pretty much had to get it just because I have a Punic Wars / Hannibal biography shelf over there. I didn't learn, I want to say I don't think I learned like a ton of insight from this one, just because I've already read like just what, say 1, 2, 3, at least 4 right there that are, you know, biographies of Hannibal. You can't really do a biography just because not enough like source material has really come down to us as far as like biographical kind of material. It's usually kind of more of like, you know, his campaigns during the Second Punic War and that sort of thing. But I will say this would be the one I'm going to start recommending to people who are just completely brand new to the subject and want to learn more about the Punic Wars or anything like that. That, you know, they've heard of like Hannibal crossing the Alps or whatever. Just because Freeman does just a really, really great job at being super readable. Like, it's one of those books you don't really want to put down. Like I said, it's not super long. I think it was like 250 pages, not even 250 pages. So 200 pages there, very readable. I said that like 5 times, but like, I do remember like reading this in like a day or two, just even though I've, you know, read tons of books on the Punic Wars. Just was really enjoyable, and actually was like a fun read, if that makes sense. Like, I've read some better books, but they're more ones you gotta like sit down and you're kind of like going through like the source material and like using the footnotes and all that kind of stuff. But this will definitely be one I'm going to be recommending for people that are brand new and just want something they can just bite into and actually come away with a lot of information, but not get bogged down in the weeds and things like that. So there you go, there's my honorable mention. And like I said, there wasn't really a choice. I had to pick it up when I saw a biography of Hannibal coming out. Alright, next up we got The War That Made the Roman Empire, Antony, Cleopatra, and Octavian at Actium by Barry Strauss. And as you could probably tell, this book is all about the Battle of Actium, but really it's kind of about the campaigns leading up to it as well, and a little bit regarding the aftermath. For those who are unaware, the Emperor Augustus, before he was the Emperor Augustus, he was Octavian, and during the Second Triumvirate there was Lepidus, who kind of got pushed aside pretty quick, Antony and Octavian, and they had kind of split the Roman world as they knew it. It's kind of in the same way as Crassus, Pompey, and Caesar, the generation before, after Caesar's death. What I really enjoyed about this book, as you kind of get a lot of the military kind of campaign history and stuff as well, there's a lot of more contextual things going on, sort of leading up to kind of the different disposition of Antony's and Octavian's forces kind of going into it, and why they were kind of different, and I guess they're kind of the morale things kind of going on and stuff like that. He does do a good job kind of going into, like, just for example, when Antony and Cleopatra flee the battle. Oh, spoiler alert, Octavian wins for those who don't know. But when they flee the battle on their ships and stuff, he kind of does a pretty good job not just going along with the total Egyptian corruption kind of thing. You know, Antony just didn't have any, you know, say in the matter on anything at all. He was completely under the sway of Cleopatra and whatnot. He does a good job kind of bringing up a bunch of different facts and sides and stuff, and kind of detailing like kind of what's going on there. One thing I really liked about this book too is the author really highlights Agrippa in this book, which is awesome because I feel like he kind of gets undershadowed a lot, and he's essentially Octavian's like general. He's his right hand man who's doing a lot of that military stuff going on. I think without Agrippa being like just a purely like loyal general that you didn't have to worry about like trying to usurp or thwart you or anything like that, and also being extremely competent really helps. So I feel for like a lot of people read about like Caesar, you know, and that Pompey and that kind of generation, and this is sort of that awkward, you know, the Republic has kind of fallen, but we don't really have the empire yet. I feel like this is actually a really good book to kind of fill in that gap of that, like, you know, 20 years between the ascension of Augustus after the death of Caesar in 44. So yeah, definitely highlight that book and give it a read if you're interested. Alright, next up we have a big surprise, another Punic War book. That's weird actually, now that I'm thinking about it. That's like 3 Roman, well I guess the Punic Wars is Hannibal, you know, Carthaginian, and another Roman book. But the number 1 will be a Greek book, so don't be bailing out yet. So we've got The Fall of Carthage, The Punic Wars, 265 to 146 by Adrian Goldsworthy. And Adrian Goldsworthy, I think, just I would say there's a pretty good general consensus. He's like one of the top, probably like 3 popular history writers on the ancient Roman world. And actually, some of his books aren't even like so much popular history. They're actually fairly academic, but a lot of them are kind of for the general reader, such as this one. This is probably like my second favorite, I guess, history of all. This is a book on the first, second, and third Punic Wars, and kind of the fall of Carthage at the end of the third Punic War, and that sort of thing. I would say it's probably my second favorite one in that regard, and it's kind of good just to always get one, you know, get some on kind of a big overview dealing with it. I do have a few that are specifically on, you know, the first or second, or just specific campaigns of Hannibal or what have you. But yeah, there's a couple there. Maybe I'll have to do like, let me know if you want a video on like kind of my Punic War shelf. I feel like that'd be what I would probably ramble on for like an hour there. But like I said, I don't think I've read a book yet by Adrian Goldsworthy where I was disappointed or felt let down that I read it. He's still got quite a few I gotta read. I got like In the Name of Rome over here somewhere. You know, I don't know why I can't. Way over here in the corner, that's why. That I gotta get to at some point. But he's got a whole bunch of things. He's got some biographies as well. Definitely very readable. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of meat in there. So like I said, this would be like if you read Hannibal, right? You read Hannibal, you really enjoy it, you want to read more about the Punic Wars, this would be like kind of the good next step, if that makes any sense. So yeah, this would, like I said, this would probably be tied with the war that made the Roman Empire for kind of like number 2 and 3. So coming up next, we have number 1, but I want to do a shameless self-promotion for my Etsy shop. If you want to support the channel, liking items and favoriting the shop and stuff is a great way to do that. Here's my latest custom order that I've made. Someone wanted a biblical verse, so I'm making a bunch of these ones here because I do custom stuff, all kinds of stuff, you know. Like I said, obviously liking and subscribing helps too, but I kind of want to turn my woodworking into like some kind of actual thing. But anyways, let's go on to number 1 here, and this one I don't have a physical copy. I did listen to this one on audiobook, and it is, so I don't screw up the subtitle here, Children of Athena, Greek Intellectuals in the Age of Rome, 250 BC to 400 AD. This is by Charles Freeman. Not sure if Charles and Philip are related. I just thought of that one, both Freemans. But anyways, this was an awesome book. So basically, from the subtitle, this is all about pretty much all the Greek scientists, philosophers, intellectuals, things like that during kind of the heyday of the Roman Empire. For, you know, all we know, or for all for those who don't know, you know, Rome kind of conquered the Mediterranean world around in the hundreds BC, generally speaking. And, you know, the Greek world kind of just got subsumed into like kind of the Greco-Roman world at that point. But the Greeks were still doing a whole lot of stuff as far as, you know, thinking and all that kind of thing that, I don't know, think probably didn't make a lot of sense either. But this book highlights a lot of the different like philosophers of Greek origin. You know, during this time we got like Epictetus, you know, kind of starting like, well, he didn't really start the Stoics and stuff. But you got Zeno, you got Epictetus doing like kind of the Stoic thing. You got like all the philosophers who kind of came over that, you know, just pissed off like Cato the Elder, because he would go out to the forum and, you know, put out an argument, and then all the Roman population would be like, oh yeah, that's a great argument, let's do that. And then the next day they come out and just refute their own arguments from the day before. And that's kind of why the Romans sort of like started not liking philosophy. But the Roman aristocracy like were total like Hellenophiles and just started absorbing like Greek culture and whatnot. But what I really liked about this book is you get a lot of the history and context, and he profiles several dozen of these like Greek thinkers or intellectuals. But it's not just philosophers. Like he deals with like, for example, like Strabo, the geographer. Let's see, Ptolemy, the scientist over in Alexandria. One of the ones that I felt was really I was really pleased that he included was Hypatia, which is actually at the end, the very tail end. I think it's like the 400s, late 300s, early 400s. CE, and Hypatia was a woman who taught philosophy and taught mathematics, which was pretty unusual for the time. I think she worked out of I want to say Alexandria in Egypt, but kind of highlighting kind of like the old ways and stuff, because she was a pagan, and kind of like this was the time when, you know, pagan philosophy was not in vogue, we'll just say, and it's kind of like sort of profiling kind of the end of kind of like the Greek intellectual thought after I think she got into an argument with a bishop, or I guess got on his bad side, we'll say, and like you know, a Christian mob like just killed like all the philosophers in Alexandria at that point. But anyways, like I said, all kinds of different intellectuals and thinkers are highlighted. I really enjoy that kind of stuff. I enjoy reading about philosophy and everything. And I feel like this one, too, would be a good one to be kind of introduced to a lot of these different thinkers. You know, not everyone has heard of Eratosthenes or, you know, Pythias the Explorer, things like that. I think this is a good way to kind of just get a nice bite-size thing on each of them. And at first, I was kind of like, you know, I've probably heard of most of these, but I really just enjoyed kind of the whole weaving together of, I wouldn't say there was like there's not like a storyline per se, but you definitely feel like kind of the thread of Greek culture kind of weaving its way into like Roman society like more heavily as like time goes on. And I just, you know, like I said, just really enjoy kind of like that intellectual kind of history and whatnot. So that was definitely my favorite classical history read of 2023, and I think that one actually did come out in 2023, so that'll probably be on my, you know, best of 2023 reads for those who end up watching that video, and hopefully like the next week or so. But anyways, let me know what you think of any of these titles, and let me know if you read any classical history that you really enjoyed in 2023. I'm always on the lookout for great recommendations, and always remember, whether you're reading books on like the Greco-Roman world or anything like that, always remember, read victoriously.